YouTube, what is up? It's above me. I'm your host, The Cloud. Wherever you at in the world, I'm sending you great vibes and positivity. If you are new and if you are returning, welcome back. Now, let's talk some sports. But first, run my intro. All right, so this week we got a couple things on our agenda to cover. We're going to review week 9 of the NFL season. Let's see how my predictions for last week went. And we're going to do predictions for week 10 going into the next week. Then NFL trade deadline just passed. We're going to talk about some of my favorite trades, who got better, who did nothing. NBA season is rolling. Players are moving. Players are looking good. Some teams are looking slow. The NBA in-season tournament has started, and I have no clue what is going on. And prima donna athletes. That's going to be my topic of the day. That's going to be a good one. Then we got our Lost in Space segment and our Salesman of the Week. Alrighty, so week 9 of the NFL season has finally come to an end. So last week, for the first time, I did predictions. My predictions ended up 8-14, which is not too bad. I would really like to go undefeated on all these predictions. So let's see how I fared out. So in the opening game for the week, the Thursday night football game, we had the Tennessee Titans facing off against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Biggest takeaway from that game, the Steelers offense still has no identity. Their defense will continue to carry them through everything that they get through. Deontay Johnson looked really good. He was back. Kenny Pickett is still not the answer. And we're going to talk about George Pickens a little bit later because I got a couple choice words for him. All right, so let's go on to the next game, the early morning game. We got the Dolphins versus the Chiefs out in Germany. This was a big game because Tyreek Hill got traded from the Chiefs to the Dolphins. Tyreek Hill been talking a lot of mess on his podcast about the Chiefs. Tyreek Hill been putting up crazy, amazing numbers. So you kind of expect him to have a baller versus his old team. Well, that was not the case. And he actually had a big fumble that turned into a fumble 6 that kind of was a telltale of that game. Now, granted, I took the Dolphins. I do like seeing athletes just get shut up, especially when you talk and mess like unwarranted. Nobody on his other teams even saying anything about him. So for him to go in there and be the one to fumble the ball and, that lead to a touchdown that ultimately probably cost them the game, it's just funny to me. Our next game, we got the Vikings and the Falcons. So I took the Falcons because the Vikings had just lost Kirk Cousins. Well, they traded for Joshua Dobbs, the answer, Joshua Dobbs, who in his first start with Minnesota gets the win versus the Falcons. Shout out to Josh Dobbs, man. That boy is proving everybody wrong this year. He started off with the Browns as the backup, ended up in Arizona as the starter. He won their only game for them as the starter, gets traded to the Vikings, goes and win a game with the Vikings. Hats off to Josh Dobbs. Josh Dobbs is doing the damn thing, and we're happy to see him doing that. Our next game is Seattle in Baltimore. Brother, I took Seattle in this game, and man, Seattle let me down. It's looking like the Ravens actually really might be the real deal. The Ravens defense, Lamar Jackson in the offense, it looks like they're hitting on all cylinders. So next week they out in Cleveland. Let's see if we can shut that down. But right now, the Ravens are looking good, and I should have took the Ravens versus the Seahawks. All right, and then in our next game, the Browns versus the Cardinals. My Cleveland Browns got our first shutout win in 17 years. 17 years. First shutout win. I didn't get a chance to fully watch the game because I was too busy. Ease on down and ease on down the road. You know what I'm saying? And I ain't really get a chance to watch the game. So as I did go back and watch the highlights, Deshaun Watson and the boys look good, but man, you know how it is with that Browns defense, the number one defense in the league. Stop playing with us. We got the three lowest netted total yards earned throughout a game this year. The top three. The Browns have been doing the thing. So shout out to my Browns for getting it done in week 9 versus Arizona. I mean, I would hope so. So next we have the Rams versus the Packers. So I took the Rams to get the win here, and the Rams just lost. They got beat up 20-3. I really didn't see too much of that game, so I really don't have too much insight on it. But I know the Packers came out and did what they had to do. Now, moving on, we got the Buccaneers facing the Texans. And man, let's talk about it. C.J. Stroud, the rookie, Ohio State quarterback, rookie, 470 passing yards, game-winning touchdown drive, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. The rookie, Ohio State quarterback. Remember what we've been saying about Ohio State quarterbacks? C.J. Stroud is putting on. C.J. Stroud is out there balling. I'm happy to see it. C.J. Stroud should have been our number 1 pick. We're going to get to Bryce Young. I ain't even talked about what Bryce Young did yet. Keep balling, C.J. Stroud. I love seeing C.J. Stroud balling. Ohio State quarterback, he's accurate. He's on the money. His decision-making is looking amazing. Remember they was talking all that mess about C.J. Stroud and all of his IQ scores and all of that? That means nothing. All of them tests mean nothing. When you get out on that field, it's about can you ball. He's balling. Shout out to C.J. Stroud doing what he had to do. And he beat Baker Mayfield. Oh, he get extra points in my book. Love you, C.J. Stroud. Next, we got the Commodores facing Bill Belichick and the Patriots. The Commodores, Lionel Richie and the guys, they traded away a lot of their big players, and we're going to talk about that. And they still managed to beat Bill and the guys. Bill and the Patriots have not looked too well, and it's just law. Once you trade away a bunch of your players, once you fire your coach, you got to win. It's just law. Shout out to the Commodores getting it done. So we have the Bears versus the Saints. So I took the Saints to get this win. I just do not trust the arm wrestling champ over there in Chicago. And it turned out to be true. The Saints are actually rolling pretty well right now. Now let's move on to the Colts versus the Panthers. So I ended up siding with the Colts. And of course, have y'all seen how Bryce Young has been playing? Your number 1 pick. Heisman Trophy winner. Not looking too good. I said it before the draft happened. Bryce Young just don't got the accuracy and the arm talent that C.J. Stroud has. He just doesn't. And we're seeing it. He ain't got the decision making either. But those test scores look good. Like I said, you got to turn the film on and look at what somebody is doing. Bryce Young ain't even doing it consistently. And I tell you straight up, the Texans still don't look like that good of a squad, but they're doing what they have to do with the pieces that they have around them. D'Amico Ryans is turning them boys up. Bryce Young, you're not looking too good. And the Colts, shout out to y'all for helping me get the win on this prediction this week. Next, so the Giants-Raiders game, I said it was a toss-up. I said I was taking the Raiders if Devontae Adams did not get traded, and he did not get traded. But they also cleaned house. The Vegas Raiders cleaned house. They got rid of their GM. They got rid of their head coach. But guess what? That's NFL law. You get rid of your GM. You get rid of your head coach. You fire somebody, you win the next game. It's law. Always remember that. Remember, I just taught you that. You fire your head coach. You trade away a top player. You do something. Somebody get in trouble. Somebody get hurt. You win the next game. It's law. It's football law. So, the Raiders blew the Giants out. Daniel Jones just coming back from injury, tears his ACL right off of it. Come on, man. Wishing him a speedy recovery. And then my next game, everybody know. Well, I ain't gonna say everybody know because don't nobody know. But I love the Eagles-Cowboys rivalry. It's like one of my favorite football rivalries. The Eagles are still managing to get stuff done. Jalen Hurts, Mr. Perfect. Oh, he's so perfect. He doesn't mess up. Not Jalen Perfect. Jalen Perfect. Jalen hurt your feelings. That's what he's doing, man. Jalen Hurts is out there balling. Even when AJ Brown isn't having the monster game, he still has weapons in Dallas Goedert, DeAndre Swift, Devontae Smith to get the ball to. So shout out to Jalen Hurts and the Eagles. They are looking like the team to beat over in the NFC once again. Then in our Sunday night football game, we got the Bengals beating the Bills. And I actually took my division rival Bengals to beat the Bills. I just felt like the Bills have not been flowing offensively the way I think they should be. I personally think Josh Allen forces a lot of balls. I feel like Josh Allen can do a lot better of a job at controlling the clock, controlling the field position battle, and keeping his defense off the field or putting his defense in such bad positions. And I feel like he does that a lot, and the Bengals definitely capitalize off of that. And personally, I think if the situation that happened last year in Cincinnati didn't happen, the Bengals also win that game. And we kind of saw the same flow of energy through this week and through this game this season. So shout out to the Bengals for getting it done. And last in our Monday night football slot, we have the Chargers beating the Jets, ending my week 9 predictions at 8-14. So going into next week, week 10, who am I going to take? Week 10 of the NFL season is almost here. Here are my predictions for this week. So we're starting off Thursday night football, Bears and Panthers. Such an ugly game. We're going to roll with the Bears to get the win here. Our next game, we got an early one. We got the Colts versus the Patriots. We're going to roll with the Colts to get the win here. Our next game, we got Browns, Ravens. Now, in this next game, we got Packers versus Steelers. Now, I never know what to expect with the weirdness of the Steelers. And I truly don't know how the Packers are looking. So I'm going to just roll with the Steelers at home here. They're weird. I'll never roll with the Steelers ever again, but the Steelers are going to get the win here. 49ers versus Jags. Now, this has potential to be one of the best games of the week. I do like the talent on both of these squads. And ultimately, I am going to roll with the 49ers here. Next, we got Saints versus Vikings. Vikings are at home. Josh Dobbs is rolling. But I also love the way the Saints are playing. And I do think the Saints are going to be able to pull this one out. Okay, next we got Texans versus Bengals. Now, I think I'm going to just roll the high hand here. As much as I want to take the Bengals at home, something is telling me that the rookie CJ Stroud will be able to come into Cincinnati and get himself an upset. So I'm going to roll with Houston to beat the Bengals. So next we got Titans versus Buccaneers. As much as I hate Baker Mayfield and do not like him, the Buccaneers have been playing pretty decent, and I think the Titans just suck completely. So we're just going to roll with the Buccaneers over the Titans here. Next, we got the Lions versus the Chargers. Lions coming off of a bye week. Chargers coming off of 2 solid wins versus the Bears and the Jets. I am going to side with the Lions here because I just love the way the Lions have been playing outside of the Baltimore game, and I think the Lions are going to pick up steam and win this game. Next, we got another ugly game of the week. We have Falcons versus Cardinals. The Cardinals have no identity. They have no life. They're just tanking at this point. Kyler Murray may get the start this week, which can change my prediction. Right now, I am rolling with the Falcons. Personally, I do believe if Kyler Murray does get that start, he is going to change the tide of that offense. And I personally think they can get the win if he does play. But for right now, he has not confirmed to be playing. So I'm rolling with the Falcons. Now, next we got the Giants and the Cowboys. Cowboys have been rolling, and I think the spread for this game is like 17.5. Daniel Jones just got hurt. They got Danny DeVito starting at quarterback over in New York. We rolling with the Cowboys here. If the Cowboys manage to lose this game, they need to sell their franchise. Next, we got the Commodores coming into Seattle. Commodores have been playing pretty decent. They coming off of a win versus the Patriots. Seahawks coming off of a shellacking versus the Ravens. And I do think the Seahawks will pick up steam and win this game at home to get themselves back rolling. Next, we got our Sunday night football game. Who keeps giving these two teams night games? Nobody wants to watch the Jets. No one wants to watch the Raiders. But since we have to watch the Jets and we have to watch the Raiders after the Raiders just fired their whole staff, this ain't about to be that. I do think the Jets will get this win. So the Jets, I'm taking the Jets. And then last, we are closing out the week with Broncos versus Bills. And we're going to clearly roll with the Bills here to get a win at home. The Broncos have not been looking good. Aside from the Bengals loss last week, I do expect the Bills to get back rolling this week. Week 10 predictions. Let's go 14 for 14, baby. Comment in the comments section. Who do you think is going to win each game this week? What are some of your predictions for the week? Is your team going to get a win this week? Who does your team play? Comment below. So next, we're going to talk about some of my favorite trades that went down during the trade deadline that happened this past week. Now, a lot of teams didn't really make a lot of moves. You did have some teams in attempts to get better, some teams in attempt to offload some contracts, and some of my favorite moves actually happened with some of these things happening. Now, the first one I'm going to talk about is the Commanders trading away former number 2 pick Chase Young to the 49ers. Now, this is a big trade because the 49ers defense just got even better, reuniting Joey Bosa and Chase Young, the college teammates. And that 49er defense is already stacked with a lot of good talent, and they just got even better. Then the Commanders also offloaded another one of their premier defensive ends, Montez Sweat. And they actually got a higher pick for Montez Sweat than they got for Chase Young. They got a second round for Montez Sweat from the Bears, and they got a third round pick for Chase Young. Montez Sweat goes to the Bears, and he signs a massive contract. That is going to be a nice impact for that Bears defense because they have been giving up a lot of points and they need someone to rush the passer. Now, we also have the Eagles getting a lot better, trading for Kevin Byard from the Tennessee Titans, the all-pro safety on that amazing defense is just getting even better. A defense that has Darius Slay, James Bradbury, Nolan Smith, the whole Georgia defense. That defense is really good, and they just got even better. And then my last trade that I really like, the New York Giants offloaded Leonard Williams to the Seattle Seahawks. A great pickup for the Seahawks. Leonard Williams is a beast. He can man the middle. Seahawks must have needed somebody on that defensive line to help stop the run a little bit more. And Leonard Williams is going to be the guy. I think he will make an instant impact out there in Seattle. Trade deadline is over. Week 10, we are here. Let's see some great football as we continue to keep rolling throughout the season. Now, we just finished up week 2 of the NBA season, and now the NBA season is starting to roll. A lot of games left to be played. The NBA is starting their NBA in-season tournament, which makes no sense. I don't understand it. I'm not even going to try to explain it to you because it makes no sense. But you have a lot of good basketball going on right now. The Celtics sitting atop the East, 5-0 right now. They are looking good. Jaylen Brown has a good game. Jason Tatum has a good game. Next thing you know, they put together a good game. They got 8 players in double figures the other night. The boys are balling. They playing really well. Let's see if they can keep that up and sustain that lead on the East. Then on the West, we have Jokic and the Nuggets still leading the way. He manages to find a way to be the weirdest basketball player in the world, but makes it look so effortless. And then we have James Harden forcing his way out of Philly. Now, that's going to lead me into that topic of the prima donna athlete. Now, what is a prima donna? A prima donna is the athlete that's that diva. You know, they feel like everything should be going their way. They should be the show at all time. Everything should run through them. And James Harden definitely gives me that energy. From OKC won out because he won it off the bench. From Houston, where he had the show and he led the show and they didn't build that team around him. So what did he do? He forced his way out. Then he's in Brooklyn with KD and Kyrie. How do you manage to not make that work? Forces his way out again. Now he goes to Philly where he also didn't manage to make that work. So what does he do again? Forces his hand to me. 5 teams for a star player like James Harden is insane. Find a home, stay there, become a team player, and try to win something. Athletes have no pride anymore. Damian Lillard running from the grind. What happened to the grind? These athletes don't want it no more. LeBron James started this. And it segues into different sports. Look at how George Pickens is acting after a victory. Do we know how hard it is to come by an NFL victory? And you have your team's leading receiver, targets, catches, yards, complaining about balls after winning. And it wasn't like he wasn't getting targets. He had a catch in the end zone where his feet were out of bounds. He had a pass that he dropped. But instead of saying, okay, if we're winning without me balling, what do you think we're going to do when I do ball? I think it makes no sense. Unfollowing your quarterback, unfollowing your coach, creating unnecessary controversy after a win. Your offense is already struggling, and now you're going to make it even harder. Athletes, we need to humble up. There's a larger picture. It's not always about you. The victory, the team's success should be the most important thing. If my team is able to win without me going off, can you imagine what's going to happen when I spaz? The prima donna athlete needs to get their head out of their... Now it's time for your favorite segment, Lost in Space. Now, during this week of the NFL season, it seems as if the receivers wanted a little piece of the fun this week. They don't always get a chance to break somebody off. Even if they do break somebody off, we can't always see it. So they said they wanted to make it a little bit more known this week. So all of these clips are clips of receivers going to space and becoming lost in space. Let's watch some of the best clips of the NFL Week 9 season.
They'll bring an extra man. Love's protected. Love's got Watson deep down the field. What a grab!
Christian Watson going up and getting it off of the top shelf. He got lost in space.
Settled for anything but 7, it feels like. Tua for the end zone, and Wilson.
Cedric Wilson with the NASA takeoff. That man is lost in space.
Red zone where they are tied for 4th this year in touchdown percentage. Bagent looking deep for Cole Kmet. Oh, what a catch! Kmet goes up to get...
Cole Kmet taking off and is lost in space. Now, I know what y'all thinking. Oh, they just jumped on somebody. They didn't really lose nobody in space. They just went to space. Shut up. It's my show. I do what I want. They took off. They in space. But for the traditionals and the casuals, just watch this.
Shot clock at 11. Time to work.
Oh.
But in. Jonathan Kuminga, what a play.
Oh, you just wait. I got one more for you. Oh.
Reeves goes away from the screen, puts Powell on the deck, and hits the shot.
Well, there's...
And that's for my real space heads that enjoy NASA. Those boys got them lost in space. As you can see, Dapper Dan has arrived. That means a salesman has arrived. We got another salesman of the week. Week 1, we got Deshaun Watson leading the crew of the salesmen. Glad he could bounce back. Week 2, we got the light skins selling us. Week 3. Drum roll, please. Our salesman of the week is our number 1 pick in the NFL, Bryce Young. Selling it away. 3 interceptions versus the Colts. That boy looked pretty bad. He didn't look like CJ Stroud, who threw for 470 yards, 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Bryce Young, you could sell CJ Stroud a car with all the money he's about to get. Bryce Young, our salesman of the week. And once again, that is a wrap. I appreciate everybody being here, watching to the end of the video. If you've made it this far, please remember, like, comment, subscribe. Please tell me, how did your team do this week? What is your thoughts on these prima donna athletes? Who do you think is going to win the East or the West in the NBA? Who do you think is going to make the playoffs in the NFL when this is all said and done? Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you next week. Always remember, it's above me.